I was, Hello, tubers and tubettes. My name is David, and I live in Northern California. And I wanted to check out and see if I could do a YouTube video in the car wash. So we have a drive-through car wash that I use quite a bit, at least once a week, for one of my vehicles because I have a truck. Oh, it's going to be loud, but I think the microphone is going to help it. So anyway, the thing that I wanted to talk about. Oh, and the sound is really deafening, but I think because of the cockpit of the car. But I'm hoping the mic will pick it up, no problem. So recently we went down to my aunt and uncle's 70th wedding anniversary, and in Palo Alto, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours away, and depending on traffic. And when we were coming back, um, I noticed that what was my oil pressure. We had decided to grab a drink at McDonald's, so we went in the drive-through. And as soon as I went in the drive-through and it went back down to idle in my truck, the oil pressure dropped down to zero. Which, if you're a car enthusiast like me, when you have zero registering on your oil pressure, you shut your car down. So I backed it out of the drive-through, took it over to the parking spot, and I opened the hood and I checked the level of oil that was in the car, because that's actually one of the places that you could have not enough oil in there, and that could drop down your oil pressure. I'll be surprised if this works, but because it's so loud. But I guess it would be similar to wind. And so, yeah, oil was correct. It was exactly where it needed to be. But yet, every time I'd start it, if I accelerated a little bit, then it would go up to the middle of the gauge. But now I have a big decision to make. Do I keep driving, or do I tow it back to the house or to the shop here in Lodi, which would have been probably, I'd say, like 45 miles. So I thought about it. I thought, well, wait a minute. The temperature did not go up. And if you have low oil pressure, that's one of the first indications is your engine's about ready to blow up. It'll seize, it gets so there's not enough oil going through the engine. So is it that I don't have enough oil pressure, or is it that the gauge is faulty? I do have oil inside there. It is unusual for a oil pump to just go out. They do, but it's kind of unusual. So I started thinking, I think it might be the gauge, because when the lights came on, the idiot lights, it didn't say low oil pressure. It said check your gauges. So that's kind of weird. That's a different sign than an engine check engine light or something like that. So I really did feel like I think it is a gauge. So I told my wife, I go, we're going to just chance it and drive home. It's either going to break down and the engine's going to seize up and blow up, or, it is a gauge. So once I was on the road for probably 15 minutes on the freeway, I pretty much assumed that it was a gauge because I told my wife it would have already blown up by now. So we drove it back to where I live. We even had the air conditioner on. The temperature never moved. It stayed cool. Then the next day I took it to the next day I took it to the shop. I got a really good shop that I work with. His name is Michael. He's expensive, but he's really good. So I took it. Oh, so I was going to take that in there. That was I had set it up to go in on Wednesday. This was like a Monday when I talked to him. So in that period of Monday, Tuesday, my car had a problem, and on my car, that problem was the opposite. The temperature was going all the way up. So we had driven it to get pizza one night, and the temperature gauge, just in that little bit of driving, was pegging. It didn't go to the very end, but it was pegging at the high point of the temperature. And so I was like, holy crap. So I took it back to my house. I thought, well, maybe the fluid is a little low, the radiator fluid, because it had been leaking. I've been filling it up every week, checking it every week. So I went to fill it, and no, it's pretty much filled. So I'm like, well, whatever the problem was, it definitely is a problem now. This leaking of the antifreeze, and so that's another problem is when you take it to a shop, they can't really diagnose anything when it's not working. It needs to be replicating the problem that you have. So instead of taking my truck there on Wednesday, I ended up taking my car in. And I know he's a little shocked to see it because I had my car in there rather than my truck. But I go, this is more serious to me because I drive my car every day for pool appointments. And so he looked at it and he diagnosed it. And then he also had to found out that there was some kind of a fitting that's made out of plastic, and it's on the bottom of the water pump. It's like an adapter, and that thing was cracked and it was leaking. So at one point it was leaking just fluid, but we're thinking that after a period of time the crack got so big it was actually cavitating or pulling air into the system, and that's why I couldn't drive it around without the air conditioning being off. So he had to replace it and repair it and the diagnostic part, and he was going to get an OEM part from the Infinity dealership in a town close to us, 30 miles away. But I told him I don't give a crap. You can get it from O'Reilly as long as it's, because my car has over 200,000 miles on it. So that ended up costing me $480. And that's just what cost of, that's what things cost, And so I had him repair it. And since then, it's been working really, really great, So that was the problem. And other than that, the car's running really, really good. So then I said, well, when I pick it up, can I bring my truck in? It's very unusual to have both vehicles break down like that, but it has been really hot, so maybe that has something to do with it. And I told him the problems with it, not showing oil pressure and stuff. And so after he looked at it, I said, listen, I know that it's on a gauge and you can take the gauge out. The whole gauge system can come out of my Ram, and it's like $500 to fix that one particular instrument. You have to send it to another shop. That's all they do. Or I could go on eBay and buy another cluster and hope that cluster doesn't have a problem with the oil thing. So they usually check them out. So that was another option I have. But it's probably $500. Or I told them I don't care if you put an oil pressure gauge, just like a little gauge below under my dash. If it came to that, I don't mind if you just do that. But before you do any of that, can we check out the sender? Because I think it might be the sender because the gauge is still working. It's just not. It's just going down and going back up. So he pulled the sensor, which I think was like $35 for the actual sensor, and it was all gunked up with oil and stuff. And that truck has 188,000 miles on it, so high mileage vehicle. I don't drive that one hardly at all, but it would be nice to have oil pressure. So he went ahead and pulled it, but the diagnostics, pulling it out, putting another one in there, even though the part's only $35, it still cost me about $170 to deal with that issue. And he couldn't make a promise that it wasn't something else, because it could be intermittent. But so far, I've been driving around for a couple of days and it's working fine. It's working perfect. So I'm very happy to get both of those things done on my car. Until the next issue, we have to figure it out. I did have an issue a couple months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and I thought this was bad because every time I would brake, it would have this crazy noise, like like the front end was falling off. I thought it could be the brakes, like maybe I'm down to the metal on the rotor, but it was really crazy loud and scary. Every time I braked, that's when it occurred. And so I set up a time for him to look at it, but then I thought, well, I'm going to look at it myself. So I looked at the brake system and everything. And, actually, no, I took it in and he goes, no, you still have 30% of your brakes left. And he goes, they're fine. It's not your brakes. And I'm like, what in the heck can it be? And he couldn't figure it out either. So then when I'm driving around, I'm thinking, hey, every time I hit my brakes, the front end of my car drops a little bit. Maybe there's something under my car. So I went and looked under my car, and sure enough, there's like another spoiler behind my spoiler, and it had broken loose. And so what was happening is every time I go down there, it was kind of angled toward the road, so it was making this crazy noise. And I got some zip ties. I made some new holes. I zip tied it up, solved the problem. So it's amazing how great these cars are nowadays. You know, how little problems they have as long as you change the oil, and you know, as long as you I always just run lower octane gas in it. My wife's car is the only one that I put the higher premium gas in it, but these other cars I just run regular octane gas in it. Sometimes I'll put a uh, injection cleaner in it. I'll run that through just maybe once every 2 months. So other than that, they've been running really good. I know this one is eventually going to need tires and brakes. You know, so I like to get the brakes in there before the rotors get bad, because nobody's turning rotors anymore out here. You know, we used to take them off, they take them to a machine shop, they mill them down. You know, now they just like to replace them. So it goes from like a $300 for two brakes in the front to like maybe $700 because they're replacing the rotors. So try to avoid that by taking it in early. But I also listen because before the brakes start, the metal starts to hit and damage your rotor. You have a little test piece in there that makes a little sound every time you break it, just a slight little sound of metal, metal to metal, because it's a sacrifice metal. And so I'm always listening for that, because once that happens, I got to stop driving or at least stop braking hard and get this car over to the shop, because then I don't want to have to replace the rotor. So overall, I try to keep everything, you know, maintained, and that's the key on it is maintenance. Maintenance is really a big deal on vehicles, and that's how you can get 300,000 miles off of a vehicle. But I really thought I was already looking at Priuses. I was thinking about buying another car because when this thing was overheating, I was thinking, oh God, you know, and it would be a big advantage to me because gas prices, they say, are going to go up. Right now they're like $4.50 a gallon. That's actually really good for California. But they're saying it may go up to $8 a gallon next year because they're shutting down two refineries and they're going to have to truck more gasoline into the state. So I think eventually I will have to get something like a Prius or something that gets better gas mileage. But, you know, I only have I have a 2.5 more years that I'm going to work before I hit mandatory retirement. And I am planning on working after that, but I'm really more into comfort and having a nice heavy car than to get like, you know, super gas mileage. I think I get like 23 to 27 miles a gallon with this, but it's a V6. It's very powerful. I just got to remember to hit the eco for the transmission, and that does help. So anyway, just want to talk to you about maintenance, see if that thing worked in the car wash. If it didn't work, then you're not going to see this video. If it did work, then I'm going to turn down the volume so you don't have to hear the car wash, and you'll still be able to hear me on the speaker, on the microphone. So thank you very much for listening. Make sure you maintain your cars, and then you can have those things last you for a long, long time. Thank you much, and have a great day.